Good morning. It's Saturday morning. It's weigh-in day. Yeah, weigh-in day. I'm not used to this, man. It is almost 7 a.m. and the sun is still not up yet. And I don't like that. I don't like this time of the year, this in-between weirdness where the time, it hasn't changed yet, and you have this weird sense of walking in the dark much later in the morning than it needs to be. But anyway, it's I can't complain about the week. Everything went as planned, so everything went. I really can't think of a moment where I say, oh man, I really like to have that back. That's what I always try to encourage you guys to do. If there's a moment during the week you'd like to have back that you wish never happened, right? The question becomes what happened, and then also what was happening at the time to make that happen, right? And when we get to the core of a situation and we can see what is the cause, I was really stressed out in this moment and it led me to do this, right? So that we can, or, it go anywhere, right? Whatever was the cause, whatever you discover was the cause of the moment, this is the hurdle, right? And the hurdle becomes, if the hurdle becomes something like, oh, I need to figure out a new way to cope with my stress, then literally your journey will not progress forward until you find a new way to cope with stress. You will constantly feel like a failure because every single time you say emotionally eat because of stress, it's going to feel like you failed, and you're going to think, why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep doing this? But in reality, you are paying attention to the wrong thing. It is, okay, so what can we do to cope with stress? Because look, here's the God's honest truth. The God's honest truth is we're all in this position. You are watching this video because you are in a position where you have an unhealthy relationship with food. You turn to food for other things than fueling your body, okay? And if food is a source of comfort, a source of happiness, a source of distraction, if it's anything other than fuel for the body, this is the core. This is the central location that if this doesn't change, if food doesn't just simply become regular gas in a gas tank on a car, right? Because you guys don't get excited about the prospect of paying for gas, right? You don't think, hey, I'm going to splurge. I'm going to indulge today in 93 octane, and I'm going to pay the most per gallon I could possibly pay because I'm in the mood, right? You don't think that because it's your car and you get no pleasure out of filling that gas tank. When food has that same effect, when you're just like, I'm eating to fuel my body, that's when you'll be able to say that you are no longer having an unhealthy relationship with food. And until we address what causes that, right? Until we come up with new solutions of coping with stress, with anger, whatever the case may be, right? Past trauma, all of these things. Until we create a new coping mechanism for these things, nothing ever changes. It just is a yo-yo. It goes up and down because you know what? Here's what happens. You get determined and you start doing the right things. And the yo-yo goes down, right? And then the minute you are presented with a stressful or emotional situation, you are going to go to your coping mechanism, and what happens? The yo-yo goes back up, right? And so until we get to the point where we say enough is enough, how do I deal with the stress, the anger, the situations of life, whatever the case may be? How do I deal with it other than eating as a distraction to me? Because look, a drug addict is always going to turn to their drug, right? When things get crazy. And nobody likes to think of food as a drug because that would make us all drug addicts in reality. But until we start to see, especially in 2025, processed food is essentially a drug. And there's just no other way around it. And people don't like saying that. But hey, I like saying the things that people don't like saying. That's the way I work. Because if you don't put the truth in and say, this is what you are, you're a drug, right? If you don't ever make that acknowledgement, the problem is always going to be there. Because people who really are, like the alcoholics of the world, the drug addicts of the world, they know they can't live their life and keep those things in their life, right? So these things we turn to in moments of emotion, frustration, when we want a distraction, when we want comfort, when we turn to these things, whatever those items are, that's your drug, okay? Because nobody, when they're emotionally eating, turns to a salad or whatever. And trust me, turning to different food is not fixing the problem. It just prolongs the problem. And really, if you measured your kitchen, right? Let's say you start emotionally eating and you eat a fruit every time you emotionally eat instead of eating ice cream or cookies or something like that. In your kitchen, you can visualize where is the fruit. In your kitchen, you can visualize where is the ice cream. How far apart really are they? Right? So if we never actually fix the issue, if we never actually address the problem, it's always going to be there, okay? And look, the people who have acknowledged I have a problem with alcohol, people who have acknowledged I have a problem with drugs, they know that there's no life where those things can exist. But I'm sorry, I know you don't want to hear this, that if your drug of choice is ice cream or it's cookies or it's, whatever you choose the item, right? You can live without that item as much as society has told you not. Nobody needs sugar. Sugar is not an essential nutrient. Ice cream is not going to kill you because you didn't eat it. Okay? You don't need ice cream. I can't tell you the last time I ate ice cream, and it doesn't really matter. But the thing is, the behavior, if it's present, will always be the source of the problem. And you will never look at it unless someone like me is pointing at it. This is the source of your problem. You're not a failure. You're not sitting here and unable to do these things. You're not one of these people who spends the time in the workshop saying, I can't. This is not who you are. It's really, you won't. That's the truth. The truth is, you won't give up the drug. And if that's the case, acknowledge it and be fine with it, because you're going to essentially be riding the waves your entire life because you insist on holding onto your drug. And if that's your choice, that's your choice. We live in a world that every person has their own world they're living in. And their own world they are living in is created by the choices they make, right? Their direct world. They're in their household, in their life, right? Everybody is living the results of the choices they make. I know, because when I was 460 pounds, I was living the results of the choices that I made. When I lost a bunch of it because I chose to have surgery, and then I chose not to learn the lessons I needed to learn, I found myself back to 403, even though I got as low as 277. So 2 times in my life, I'm only 47, I was over 400 pounds, okay? And so I know what it feels like to fail. I know what it feels like to look at yourself in the mirror and finally see what the real problem is, right? And I know what it is now. So when I finally started WW, I was 395. And as of last Saturday when I weighed in, I was 203, okay? So listen, I understand now what I did wrong the first time when I lost the weight. I understand now that I didn't learn the lesson. But so that's why I shout to the rooftops that the lessons need to be learned. You need to look at the core situation. And until you do, until you make some real sacrifices, nothing will change. Everything remains a roller coaster. It's Saturday. Whatever you're doing today, enjoy yourself. I love each and every one of you. God bless you all.